The human outpost known as Erebus Station was never meant to be famous. It floated at the edge of mapped space, bolted to a dead moon orbiting a brown dwarf, too far from major trade lanes to matter, too insignificant to defend with anything more than sensor arrays and a handful of patrol craft. Its purpose was simple: listening, watching, recording the silent dark beyond human expansion. Erebus housed just over 400 souls. Scientists, engineers, a security detachment barely large enough to parade, and a rotating crew of analysts who spent most of their time bored. The station's greatest enemy had always been monotony. Until the day the sky tore open. At 3:17 station time, long-range sensors screamed awake. 16 gravity spikes punched through real space in perfect formation. Not pirates. Not traitors. A military arrival, disciplined, deliberate, hostile. Lieutenant Mara Vance was halfway through her coffee when the alert klaxons began to howl. Unscheduled emergence, someone shouted from the sensor pit. Multiple contacts. Unknown configuration. Mara dropped the cup and sprinted for the command dais. The tactical hollow bloomed to life, painting crimson silhouettes where moments before there had been nothing. Alien vessels, sleek, angular, bristling with energy signatures far beyond Erebus's defensive capabilities. No transponder codes, the sensor chief said, voice tight. They're not even trying to talk. The station commander, Captain Elias Rowe, didn't waste time on questions. General alert, he ordered. Signal SolNet. Priority red. Send everything. The message launched into the void, racing toward human space at lightspeed relays. It would take minutes to reach the nearest relay hub. The alien fleet did not wait. Their opening salvo struck Erebus's outer ring with surgical precision. Rail slugs and directed plasma carved through habitat modules like paper. Atmosphere vented in screaming clouds. Entire sections went dark in seconds. Mara watched the casualty counter begin to climb. They're targeting life support, she whispered. This is an extermination strike, Captain Rowe said grimly. Not a raid. Security teams rushed to seal bulkheads, but the attackers were methodical. Every shot was calculated. Every system hit weakened Erebus further. Within 4 minutes, the station's shields collapsed entirely. A final barrage tore through the central core. Erebus Station died screaming. By the time the alien fleet withdrew, nothing remained but twisted metal, frozen bodies, and drifting debris. 400 humans, scientists, technicians, listeners, were dead. The aliens never attempted communication. They never attempted occupation. They simply erased the outpost and vanished back into hyperspace. They believed that was the end of it. Humanity received the signal 2 minutes later. At Seoul Defense Command, alarms erupted across the command sphere. Admiral June Park stood frozen as the final telemetry resolved. Imagery of Erebus breaking apart, followed by silence. No survivors? She asked quietly. None, the analyst replied. Total loss. The room filled with a sound that had not been heard in decades. Laughter. Cold. Dangerous. They struck a listening post, Admiral Park said. Which means they knew exactly what it was. The political observers began to speak. Words like diplomacy, investigation, restraint. Park raised one hand. Cancel the debate, she said. We have doctrine. The doctrine had a name. The Black Ledger. It was humanity's final answer to existential threats. A list of contingencies prepared not for war, but for annihilation. Any species that conducted an unprovoked extermination strike against civilians was not treated as an enemy. They were treated as a terminal risk. Identify the attackers, Park ordered. AI cores spun at obscene speeds, comparing energy signatures, hull geometries, jump residues. Within seconds, a match emerged. The Karsai Dominion, the AI intoned. Expansionist. Militarized. Estimated population. 11 billion. Homeworld designation. Kareth Prime. Admiral Park closed her eyes. They didn't know us, she said. They didn't bother to learn. She opened them again. Activate Black Ledger Protocol 1. The room went silent. That's extinction level response, one officer said. Yes, Park replied. It always was. Across human space, hidden arsenals awakened. Weapons older than most colonies powered up, devices never used in anger, built not for conquest but for certainty. Humanity had learned long ago that some threats could not be deterred, only removed. Within minutes, a strike fleet assembled, not vast, not dramatic, just enough. At its heart traveled a single vessel, HNS Final Measure. Kareth Prime was a jewel of a world. Oceans of liquid cobalt shimmered beneath a violet sky. Sprawling arcologies glittered across continents. Orbital rings hummed with commerce and defense platforms. The Karsai Dominion celebrated efficiency. Their war planners reviewed the Erebus strike with satisfaction. A primitive listening post, one commander said. Humans will hesitate. They always do, another replied. Their species fears escalation. The warning came too late. Human ships exited hyperspace inside the system's gravity well, an impossible maneuver according to Karsai physics. Defense grids attempted to lock on and failed as targeting algorithms overloaded. A single human transmission cut through all channels. This is not war, Admiral Park's voice echoed across the system. This is consequence. The final measure moved into position above Kareth Prime. Karsai scientists screamed warnings as spacetime readings spiked beyond tolerance. Their world's core began to resonate. What is that device? The planetary governor demanded. The answer came as reality began to unravel. The weapon was called a gravitational singularity inducer, a human failsafe designed to collapse a planet's core into a controlled microsingularity. Not an explosion. An erasure. Kareth Prime's mantle folded inward. Oceans rose into the sky. Cities crumpled as gravity reversed and spiked simultaneously. The planet screamed, not audibly but in waves of distorted spacetime. Orbital structures tore free and vanished into the forming singularity. In less than 30 seconds, the world that had existed for 4 billion years was gone, compressed into a point smaller than an atom, sealed forever behind physics no one could breach. The human fleet did not linger. As they departed, automated beacons broadcast a final message across the system and beyond, encoded in every known mathematical constant. We do not strike first. We do not strike lightly. But when you erase our people, we erase your future. The galaxy listened. News of Kareth Prime's disappearance spread faster than fear. Empires recalculated. War councils disbanded. Expansion fleets turned back. Humanity did not celebrate. On Earth, a memorial was raised, 400 names etched into black stone. No speeches spoke of victory. No banners were flown. Admiral Park stood alone before the monument. We warned them, she said softly. Behind her, Lieutenant Mara Vance, one of the few Erebus personnel off station that day, watched the sun set. They thought we were weak, Mara said. Park nodded. They mistook restraint for mercy. Above them, the stars burned quietly. Human listening posts continued their vigil. And across the galaxy, whenever alien commanders studied human space, they remembered a simple truth. They struck a human outpost. Minutes later, their entire world was erased. And humanity